Yeah, no,
Make
please
it
come up here and Miss Augustin will swear you in.
Yes. Mine also. Let us know what's wrong. All right, so I would like you to say your name where stated. You see something? I gave you. All right, so you can raise your right hand tonight.
I, Jamie Spiridigliosi,
Do solemnly swear or affirm that
do solemnly swear or affirm that
I will support the Constitution of the United States
I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same and to the governments established in the United States
to the same and to the government established in the United States
and the state under the authority of the people.
and the state under the authority of the people.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I state your name,
I, Jamie Spiridigliosi,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I possess the qualifications prescribed by law
that I possess the qualification prescribed by law
for the office of Member of Board of Education,
for the office of Member of Board of Education,
and I am not disqualified as a voter pursuant to RS 19-4-1,
I am not disqualified as a voter pursuant to RS 19-4-1,
and I am not disqualified due to conviction of a crime or offense
and I am not disqualified due to conviction of a crime or offense
listed in NJSA 18A 12-1,
listed in NJSA 18A 12-1,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform all the duties of that office
and justly perform all the duties of that office
according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now we can call the meeting to order. So will everybody please rise for the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Route of egress. In the event of an emergency, all people may exit right or left from this room and proceed to an exit door. All doors will open from the inside. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend meetings of public bodies on which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Haledon Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published in the North Jersey Herald News, the board's official newspaper, on August 16th, 2023. Notices of this meeting indicating date, time, and place were posted publicly on the door of the main entrance to the school and filed with the clerk in the municipality of Haledon. Roll call, please.
Mr. Abbasi,
Here.
Mr. Coletta, Mr. Guzman, Mr. Martinez.
See him online. They was online.
Ya estás vivo.
Here.
Mr. Maxwell.
Here.
Mr. Ramadan. Mrs. Farah Degliosa.
Here.
You did a good job.
Mr. Webb
Present.
and Mrs. Issa.
Okay, so we have a very special presentation tonight. And Jeff Fisher, you may know what this is about. You may have a clue. I want to start by commending Jeff Fisher on his 50 years of service and dedication to the Haledon and Manchester School Boards of Education, and to the students and families of Haledon. Your active and enthusiastic participation in all things school board and district related are a testament to your love of our community. You have helped to lay the groundwork for so much of the work of our school boards, and your commitment serves as an example to all of us. Thank you, Jeff. We have a proclamation, and I'm going to read it. Whereas over the past 50 years, over 50,000 Haledon students have attended the public schools of Haledon and Manchester Regional High School. And whereas during that time, over 100 Board of Education members have devoted countless hours without remuneration to the oversight of Haledon Public School and Manchester Regional High School. And whereas these dedicated individuals have diligently provided oversight of the borough's school operations, including fluctuating finances, ever-changing governmental regulations, the explosion of social media, and all of the uncertainties brought upon us by the unprecedented COVID-19 global pandemic. And whereas the policymaking bodies of the schools in our borough, the Board of Education members have endeavored to meet the challenges and to help Haledon students attain the education necessary to excel in college and in the workplace, and to enable them to compete in a global economy. And whereas throughout these past 50 years, there has been a constant in the borough's schools, one Board of Education member who has provided not only this diligence and oversight, but has provided the stability of leadership and has been a mentor and role model for others in ensuring the borough schools meet the challenges that our students and families have faced. And whereas since his first election to the Board of Education in February 1973, at the age of 19, Jeffrey Fisher has volunteered thousands and thousands of hours of his time, often pulling him from his family and own work obligations to provide the services that have proven so beneficial to the schools of Haledon. And now be it resolved, the Haledon Board of Education does hereby proclaim its recognition and appreciation for Jeffrey Fisher in celebrating his 50 years of tremendous service to the school boards of our great borough. I just want to congratulate you personally, Jeff. It's so impressive that, having been on the school board now 6 years, that's like a pittance compared to 50. So it's really, you're an example. And, maybe, I don't know, maybe one day I'll make 50 years. I don't think so, but.
Good luck.
We do have something for you, Jeff, that I want to present to you. And I know that Manchester also recognized your 50 years, but a lot of your time is spent here. So we wanted to make sure that we, recognized.
About 27 here and 28 there. Yeah, well, because some of them, it's more than 50, it adds up because some of them were both.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I was going to say it must be more than 50 years that.
Well, it's 50 years since my first election, but with the total board hours or whatever.
Right.
It adds up.
Okay.
I think Christmas is-
Actually, okay.
Right. Here's some ones.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. I truly want to thank the board for this. It's a great honor. And just very briefly, when I first got elected at 19 years old, Dr. Ray Orsi, the former superintendent, the one who was at that time, sat me down. We had a meeting before I got sworn in, and he said, I'm not sure what your agenda is coming on here at this point. He said, but if every time when they call the roll on a vote, on a resolution, if you ask yourself before you say yes or no, am I voting for what's best for the boys and girls of at that time it was the Haledon Public School. Now tomorrow night when I have my meeting, it'll be the Manchester Board of Ed. If you know that what you're voting is in the best interest, the best thing for those boys and girls, then we'll get along. And every time in those 50 years and tomorrow night, every time that roll call is made, I will be thinking about what's best for the students. And the best part is Dr. Orsi is still alive, still around. I was with him about a month ago and I'm having dinner with him next month. He was a mentor to me. I always tease every superintendent I've worked with is you're good. but I've had better. But I just, I want to thank you for, for the recognition. I wish George were here because I know George has been bugging me. We got to get you in. We want to do something in Hailton. But I will see him, personally and thank him for it. Now what I want to do is, because you had a board meeting in May when the State County School Board Association had our spring dinner when we did recognitions, and I have a recognition that I want to do. You may have already gotten the certificate in the mail, and if you didn't, I will make sure that you do.
Yeah, I don't think I got
Okay,
it.
then we will physically get you the certificate, but your board president, Lisa, attained her certified, certificated board member status. And that's not an easy thing to accomplish, and I just want to let you know what she's done in order to get there. She's accumulated at least 20 credits of attendance at different NJSBA functions and training functions. She attended at least 4 county meetings, 1 annual workshop in Atlantic City, at least 1 delegate assembly, attended at least 1 statewide or regional professional development, and completed at least 3 years of service. I think you've exceeded pretty much all of those different categories, but on behalf of NJSBA and State County School Boards Association, I want to congratulate you on that honor. Also, he's no longer on the board, but also Vic was recognized because he received the new board member certification at that same dinner. So you're on your way. And I'm going to say I'm going to work with you because you're going to be next.
I'm actually doing it on the 26th,
Good.
The delegate.
the delegate, and then
Good.
that's it. Then I'm good.
Good, perfect. And, it's something that you should all aspire to. You come on a board, you're joining a board, you really don't know how it operates. It's important that you get the training. Lisa and I have worked together. We worked through a bunch of different things, the superintendent search and a lot of other things. And one of the good things about workshop and doing these things is meeting other board members. That's probably, you can go to the training sessions, they're great. But when you go and meet other board members, speaking of which, and hear how things are done in other districts, you'll learn so much. So I encourage you to go to training, go to workshop, go to the delegate assembly, and just keep learning. I still do. I go to these trainings all the time, and as your superintendent will tell you, in education, things don't change every year. They don't change every month. They change every day. There's a new law, a new regulation, something gets revised, constantly changing. So you have to stay up on things. So, again, thank you for the honor. I truly appreciate it. I would love to stay for your entire meeting, but I'm probably. Oh, I do want to recognize while I'm here, I've got you've got my wife who's when you mentioned that I left my family, there were 21 years where I did it, okay? Because Ellen served 21 years on this board and 21 years on the Manchester board simultaneously. My wife Ellen and my fellow board members from Manchester, Liliana Baez, our president Aldo Penzara, and a former Hailton member and now Manchester member, Hilton Gonzalez. So I want to thank them for coming. I wasn't kind of got the idea when I saw them walking in that they were tipped off today. So I truly appreciate it and thank you.
Great speech.
Going to recognize all of our fellow Manchester board members. Thank you all so much for coming, and President Penzara. And while we're on the subject of board certification, I want to congratulate the Manchester board who received certification as a whole board. That's a great collective accomplishment, and I hope that's something that our board can aspire to. It's one of our professional development goals. So, you're an example again. Thank you and congratulations.
That's a tough one because it means you got to have at least 6 of the board members together for 4 years, and you have to go through all of these trainings and workshops and everything. And with Kathy Hellowa and now Charlotte Peterson, that's been great. But yeah, that's something that I'm very proud of. Aldo and I talked about it in the summer, and I said, I think we're real close. Let's figure out what we need and get it done, because there are very few. There's probably out of the 150 boards in the state, there's probably less than 50 that achieve that. you know,
So
so
impressed.
it's good.
So impressed. But that's
Thank
something
you.
for us to aspire to.
Thank you.
Good job,
Thank
thank you.
you.
It's always great to see you.
Do you want to take a couple minutes or maybe
Uh,
Jamie wants to take a picture of
Sure.
them?
You want to take a brief break? You guys can take some pictures and Jamie, you want to take pictures with your family? Yeah.
I don't
We go?
Alright.
Jeff and Alan, would you like to you want to take a little break for some pictures?
I think Chris, you got it here, but up here for.
I got a picture of you and Liesel. I don't have a picture of your groups. If you guys would like to come up, I'd love to take that and post that.
Yeah, we can take like a couple of minutes just to take some pictures and then. Do we have to- Okay, so let me do yes, let me do a motion to just go take a 5 minute recess. Can I, do a roll call? Okay, can I to take a 5 minute recess? Motion, moved by Mr. Webb, seconded by Mr. Musco. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Abasi,
Yes.
Ms. Martinez,
Yes.
Mr. Moxell,
Yes.
Mrs. Faradigliosi,
Yes.
and, that was where Mr. Webb,
Yes.
and Mrs. Issa.
Yes, okay, we'll be back in, like, let's say 7:30, because it's 7:22. I'm making a motion to call the meeting back to order. Moved by Mr. Abasi, seconded by Mr. Webb. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. Good night, everyone. Thanks so much for coming. Okay, so, can I have a motion to accept correspondence? Moved by Mr. Motzko, seconded by Mr. Abasi. Roll call, please.
Mr. Abasi,
Yes.
Mr. Martinez, is he still on? Mr. Martinez?
He's on mute.
Yes. Mr. Moxell?
Yes.
So I'm saying your name so few more times before I get it.
Thank you. I got to do. We got it. I got it. Okay.
Mr. Martinez, can you put your, okay, Mrs. Faradigliosi?
Yes.
So, say it again.
Spiridigliosi.
Digliosi.
Made fun of me last time. One of the people that made fun of me.
Just remind me.
Yes.
Mrs. Issa.
Yes. Can I have a motion to accept prior minutes? Moved by Mr. Motzko, seconded by Mr. Webb. Roll call, please.
Mr. Abasi?
Yeah.
Mr. Martinez? Mr. Moxell?
Yes.
Mrs. Faradigliosi?
Yes.
Mr. Webb?
Yes.
And Mrs. Issa.
Yes. Okay, can I have a motion to accept minutes from our special meeting on September 6th?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Motzko, seconded by Mr. Abasi. Roll call, please.
Mr. Abasi?
Yep.
Mr. Martinez? Mr. Moxell? Mrs. Faradigliosi? Mr. Webb? Mrs. Issa?
Yes.
And Mr. Martinez?
Yes.
Okay, great. 1, 2,
Okay, 5, right?
yeah, mhm.
Okay, great. Okay, can I have a motion to open the floor to citizens on agenda items only?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Motzko, seconded by Mr. Martinez. Roll call, please.
Mr. Abasi?
Yeah.
Mr. Martinez?
Yes.
Mr. Moxell?
Yes.
Mrs. Faradigliosi?
Yeah.
Mr. Webb?
Yes.
And Mrs. Issa.
Yes. Okay, the floor is open on agenda items only. We do have one member of the public here. Ms. Cerna,
part to answer. I just have a question with resignations. I just wanted to know, is it the school that has the problem? Is it the money? What is driving these people to not?
Okay, did you say resignations?
What's
Okay,
driving you
okay,
to
okay.
resign?
Okay, we'll hear all comments and then we can, you know, respond after if appropriate. Are there any other comments, anything in the chat, Mr. Miller? Mr. Pagani? Okay, can I have a motion to close the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Matzko, seconded by Mr. Abbasi. Roll call, please.
Mr. Abbasi,
Yes.
Mr. Martinez, Mr. Moxell,
Yes.
Mrs. Spear Digliozzi,
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Webb, I got you,
Yes.
and Mrs. Issa.
Yes. I don't want to comment or speculate. I don't want to speculate on why people resign. It's a big school. There's a lot of staff. People, they stay for some years, they move on for different reasons. Ms. Velez did note in her letter that's on the agenda, that is public record, that she and her family moved and it was a long commute. Other than that, we can't really speculate, but people have their own reasons why they change jobs and, that's, they have their own reasons, so.
Yeah, during the school year, it's a lot easier to do exit interviews. The people that leave during summertime, unless they tell you something in their resignation letter. But it's this is actually one of this was actually one of the smaller new teacher orientation classes. The only reason I know that is the new teacher orientation video, you only get 3 minutes, and I had extra slides that I didn't have the year before, which means it's shorter. But yeah, life gets in the way sometimes, and other times there's other opportunities. And last year when you see people like Mr. Peck becoming a teacher, and then they become a director or administrator, that's something that makes you feel good. And then there's other times where people want to have a different fit other places. So it is what it is. But we wish them all good luck.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Okay, let's go to reports. Oh, actually, can I have a motion to approve? Actually, before we do this motion, I just want to point out, Ms. Spiritigliosi, so, we have committees and you've been appointed to 2 committees. So, your personnel and management and curriculum and technology. I also appointed our other, fairly new, board member, Mr. Ramadan, to 2 of the committees where there were vacancies. So, there's, in the reorg meeting in January, there's always a chance to, redo the committees. But right now, those are the assignments for the year. So if you have any questions, you can, reach out and we don't have committee meetings, all the time. It's just as the need arises. So, okay, so can I have a motion to accept to approve the committee appointments?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Mr. Motzko, seconded by Mr. Webb. Roll call, please.
Mr. Abbasi,
Yes.
Mr. Martinez,
Yes.
Mr. Moxell,
Yes.
Mrs. Spear Digliozzi,
Yes.
Mr. Webb,
Yes.
and Mrs. Issa.
Yes. Okay, so moving on to reports, I will start with my report, and I just want to say how nice it was to, start off our meeting with that presentation. It really is, admirable for someone to serve on a school board for 50 years. It really blows me away when I think about it. So that was such a nice thing that we were, able to do. Yeah, and I do want to thank Mr. Guzman because he was very instrumental in that. So welcome, everybody. Welcome back to a new school year. It's been exactly 1 week since we started. And I think we're off to a great start. You know, aftercare and certified angels are underway. Clubs and fall sports are gearing up or are already in progress. And most importantly, there's learning going on in our classrooms. There are always logistical challenges as we get back into the swing of things, but HPS is very resilient and issues are always addressed swiftly. On behalf of the board, I want to wish all of our students, teachers, staff, and families a productive and successful school year. And I know Mr. Waka always makes sure he thanks all of his staff for all their hard work, but I'd be remiss if I didn't thank the teachers, support, and custodial staff and the administration for making sure our first week of school went smoothly. I'm happy to say that we now have a full board once again. I want to formally welcome our new member, Ms. Vera Digliozzi. I look forward to working with you and all of our board members to advance the work of our district, as well as the education and well-being of our students. Next, I would like to thank Mrs. Unlasoy, Ms. Velez, and Mr. Saraceni for their years of service and dedication to our students and the HPS community. Teachers are special people, and they don't always realize how much they positively affect their students and their families. Sometimes it's hard to say goodbye. Nonetheless, we wish Mrs. Unlasoy, Ms. Velez, and Mr. Saraceni the best in their future endeavors. And then lastly, I want to comment on the professional development plan that's on the agenda tonight. It's a really robust plan, and it encompasses not only mandatory training, but also provides opportunities that encourage and promote self-reflection and professional growth. It's a win-win for our teachers, administration, and staff, and for our students who will benefit from the increased expertise and awareness of school staff. I wish our teachers and staff happy learning this year. And that's it for me. I'm going to turn it over to our Chief School Administrator, Mr. Waka.
Thank you, Board President Lisa. Sort of to piggyback off your last comment about the PT plan, I think Ms. Troy and Ms. Ramos, our math and our ELA coaches, they did a lot of work putting that together, as did Ms. Barnhill, so I want to thank them for that. Jamie S., Ms. S., I'm not going to be bold enough to try and say anything crazy here, but whenever a new board member comes on, I'll either on the phone or in my office or wherever, we'll get together and kind of just answer questions. I did the same thing with Mr. Ramadan a couple weeks prior. But it was, I had known you as an employee here, and you had a really good reputation. You did a great job. We were sad to see you go. We understood why, you wanted to take the next. It was definitely a good jump for you to do that. But when you're going through the, the structure of the school and the building, you had talked about your kids, and somehow it came up that I'm a huge anime nerd, and you told me your kids like One Piece. So you're not going to know what I'm going to talk about, but they will. As a board member, part of you is Nami, in that you're navigating us, through in a positive direction, and the other part of you is Nico, in that you're Nico Robin, in that you know the history of our town and our school. And I think that for the next few months, you're going to add a lot of value. So I appreciate that. I also want to thank Jeff Fisher. I remember it's crazy the years go by, especially with his, but it was 2012 when I got hired as an assistant principal, my first admin job ever in Manchester. And that's when I first met Jeff. I've aged, he hasn't, which is crazy. But Jeff's been, we've had a lot of good conversations. We've done a lot of good things together. So I was really happy to see, a good thing happen to someone that has such good intentions for the districts. On a sad note, but a good note, we had one of our students, Dennis Guzman. He actually won the Golden Gloves boxing tournament, which seems like a pretty prestigious award to win. He was going to join us tonight. We were going to, give him a ceremony. But he's feeling a little under the weather, so we're going to postpone that till our October meeting. But they're definitely looking forward to hanging out with us and getting that recognition. I also want to give a shout out to both Lamika and Jermaine. We had our bid day for Lamika's going to talk a lot more about this. But we had our bid day. It was really successful for this big expansion project that we got going on. And this was a day that could have went south, but it didn't because of the leadership we have with Lamika and with Jermaine. The start of the year, I'm really pleased with the start of this school year. It's my 6th or 7th year here, and this knock on wood, this has been one of the stronger starts of just getting kids in the building and keeping that building in that field that we want it to be at. There's been a couple of hiccups. They're not hiccups that we can't fix. And I'm not saying it's because of me that this is happening. It's because of the teachers that we have. But I'm really proud of our veteran teachers for helping acclimate our newer teachers so quickly, so that the first couple of days of school, if it goes well, it really helps the rest of the year. And it's tough for a child who's maybe never been in a full day school setting, all of a sudden come in such a big organization. So the fact that we've transitioned so smoothly, I'm really proud of that. And the minor hiccups we have, there's nothing I think it's unsolvable. You'll see in the agenda, we've hired a preschool teacher. We only had one apply and we were really pleased with her. I'm not gonna reveal the plans publicly tonight, but we're hopeful that in early October, we're gonna open another preschool section. Labika and myself, Mr. Trito, took a field trip, and Pastor Richard Bridgewater, he was awesome. He really couldn't have been any more of a gentleman. There's a lot of positives to the area, but I think it's more likely we're going to want to stay internal as far as how we're going to open our new preschool section. So we're still weighing some options. I'll report to the board and the union leadership and the teachers affected once we're committed to a decision. But I expect that, by the end of next week, I think we're going to call a whole bunch of parents and give them some good news. And I know that there's the idea that there might be children that were in one class, now they're in another class. This is, knock on wood, it's kind of a record low as far as our kindergarten enrollment right now. It's so low that it's, we've had years where it's 120, which is quite large. Right now, we're sitting at about 80, which is, it makes it where it gives us some flexibility. And our teachers are all pros, and if we have to make a change within that structure, it's not like the class size is going to go from 27 to 38. It'll go from the 12 or 13 it is now to 15, which is still a really good number for a preschool. But I still want to make sure I cross all my T's and dot my I's before an official decision is made. But I would just ask this board to understand that, if we make this decision to open up another preschool section, there's 15 more children that are going to get an education that would not have gotten an education if this board had voted no, or if this board wasn't comfortable with making a last minute change. And it's not like 15 kids are losing their education. There's still 15 kids in kindergarten. They might just go from a class of 13 to a class of 15 or 16, right? So I think one of the tough decisions you have to make is, well, what's the net positive and what's best for all the Wildcats? Because once these kids, the wait list become our kids, they're ours, right? And I'm telling you, a 16 kid kindergarten class is still that's a pretty healthy number for a class size. But I appreciate that this board really wanted to see some positive impact on the wait list. And we know that next year, once this construction's finished, this is not a problem anymore, right? But if we can take steps, even if they're uncomfortable, to help 15 kids that otherwise would have been helped, to me, that's what we're supposed to do. Let's see, but I'm hopeful that by October 1st, we have, the ability to open a section or sometime around then, right? And then the last update is just the vice principal. Manchester's hiring a guidance counselor to replace the vice principal that we've hired from there. I'm hopeful that they'll, I imagine by then, probably not tomorrow, but their next board meeting, I'm sure they'll have someone. The law is that, he's under contract, so 60 days we'd have to wait. Most districts would always wait the full 60. My personal philosophy is that if I could hustle and get someone that wants to be in, they're going to do better for the kids than someone that's waiting to leave. And that's why we hustled so hard and got a replacement for Mr. Saraceni, got a replacement, for Ms. Undersoy, Ms. Velez. She just told us a couple of days ago, but we're going to hustle as well. We appreciate what they've done, but I want people that are where this is their foreseeable future, right? So that's why we've let them off within 7 days of, by the time that they've, put in the resignation. And I think that's good for the culture of the building. And again, I wish them best of luck. But that's my report for tonight, and I'm really happy with our start. That's it.
Thank you. Any questions, anybody? Our business administrator, Ms. Augustine?
Thank you. I just have a few things to update the board on. Number one, again, I'm just reminding everyone about the workshop for all that registered. If you're interested, Mrs. Spirigliosi, to register for the workshop, let us know. We'll see what we can do. I know it's kind of like late notice and the accommodations are already set in a lot of the hotels, but if it's something you want to do, just let us know, okay? The board dinner will be on a Wednesday in October, on 25th, so I'll give you guys more updated information on that, and also I'll need some responses to see if the board members are interested in participating in that. We had a group.
You don't have to go through all 3 days. If you want to just go
Yeah,
through one
full
day,
day.
it's up to you.
The other thing I wanted to update the board on, which Mr. Walker has started speaking on, is we had our bid day for the addition. That was on September 12th. We had a great number of contractors that were interested. We had about 9 submissions. It was about maybe 13 to 15 people that showed up just to watch the bid opening. And we received very competitive bids. We have 3 contractors that we're going to vet their documentation. And our next steps is to just make sure there's no material defects. Hopefully, all of that will be reviewed by our attorney, and by the next board meeting, we can appoint the contractor, we can get started on the scheduling and going from there. If you want more information on the bid documents, I can submit that to you guys, but right now, I don't want to say the contractors' names because we are in the vetting process. So I want to just make sure that you guys know that we did stay close to budget and the bids were pretty favorable, so. The other thing is that districts were notified September 7th on the ROD grant approvals. We unfortunately was not on the list of approvals. I know if you remember, we submitted a proposal or a request for approval from the state on the security and access upgrades and the playground. So we were really hoping that the playground would get approved, but it did not. Most of the approvals were strictly based on HVAC, boilers, and roofs. So the state must have picked a category that they felt was more priority and took those submissions, and they granted funding to those districts that submitted it specifically for that. And as you guys already know, we already do have a grant for HVACs. So we're going to work within that grant to pay for the ones that we just did. And for the addition that's on our own, we're doing that through a little bit of ESSA and also through our capital reserve funding. So hopefully in the future, depending on future fundings, we can still be able to accomplish those goals of the playground upgrades. And I know we're already working on the security of it, so we should be fine in those areas. But we were just hoping to get a little bit more assistance. The other items were just the agenda items. If there's any questions on those, I'll be glad to answer.
I do have a question on one.
Yes.
On the treasurer's report, 1510. Am I reading it wrong? Or maybe I just don't understand it. The special revenue fund, the beginning cash was negative and we went further.
Well, how is special revenue run? Those are the Fund 20 funds, which is we pay up front and then we submit to the federal government for reimbursement, and then we,
Okay.
charge it back to that account. So it does run in the negative until we get our reimbursement.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, and that's primarily from the ESSER funds. Yeah, so that's primarily, yeah.
You can send us.
Sure. Yeah.
You said we're close to budget, so we're over.
No, we're not over. It's just the base amount was close to what we predicted when we went into it. And then if we include the allowances and the contingency, we're right on at the cost.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. All right, thank you, Ms. Augustine.
You're welcome.
Okay, so now we're gonna go through our list here, personnel and management. Mr. Martinez?
only.
Sorry?
I think we caught the back end of agenda items on.
Agenda items only.
Okay.
Good
Thank
to hear.
you. Curriculum and technology, Mr. Webb.
Agenda items only.
Policy and public relations, Mr. Martinez.
Agenda items only.
Security and safety. Okay, so no one is here for security and safety. So, I think we, yeah.
Agenda items only.
Is there, can I
I think it's
ask
just-
about that?
Hold on, we got you.
Is this drastically different than last year's plan? Is there any
A
major?
lot of, the only thing that's different is sometimes the names of the, there's certain employees that aren't here anymore.
Right,
And last year, I don't believe that law had come out where there had to be that
that team.
safety
Oh, the
team thing. But so I think that's a new addition to last year's plan, but
Right.
otherwise it's very, very, very similar plan.
Okay.
So from what I've read, it's pretty similar to what we had last year. And just like you said, Mr. Waka, it's based on the different employees, but aside from that, the agenda is the same.
Thanks, Rafi.
Community engagement and outreach, Mr. Webb.
Nothing to report.
Physical plant, Mr. Motzko.
We met, discussed the billing, discussed the bid. And other than that, agenda items.
So for state and county, before, I do have a couple of things that I'll mention, but I just wanted to throw it out there. If anybody is interested in being the rep for state and county, let me know. And I'm happy to be the alternate. And I'll give you all a chance to think about it. And I know we don't have everybody here, so I'll let them, and if nobody is interested, I'm happy to do it. I've been doing it for a while, but I will appoint an alternate in that case. So maybe, we'll send out an email or something to the board members asking if anybody is interested.
In that email, can you put information on what the rep is responsible for?
Sure,
Or is there a
and
link
I mean,
to the
basically.
NJSBA that says it?
Yeah, basically, you're just going to report out on like information coming from, so, Vic was really good at, he was the rep, and he's a lawyer, he's an attorney, so he was always kind of looking at like the legal things, and when I look at it, I look at the events that are coming up, the trainings that are coming up. You can really report out what you feel is important.
And they've been pretty good at allowing Zoom participation. So, I know you're traveling all the time and there's a lot of things you're coaching all the time. You got everything going on. But it seems like they've adopted the normal that we've adopted. So that, to me, it's a bonus for people that have a lot of other things going on to do that.
Yeah, and it's not that you have to,
Right, yeah.
attend all of these gatherings and trainings and, fresh, it's not that, it's just kind of letting our board know like what's going on, and we're really inundated with information and communication and emails from NJSBA. So you have to kind of, sift through and just see what you think is, worth mentioning, bringing up to the school board. Yeah. Okay, so I had mentioned a whole bunch of things that are at our August meeting. Those are trainings and events are still coming up, but there's a few new ones. September 14th, which is tomorrow, there's a webinar at 10 o'clock. It's the workshop preview. So if you're going to the workshop, maybe you would be interested in doing this, Ms. Spiritigliosi. Just a preview of the trainings and the sessions, the workshops that are gonna be, given at the workshop.
Not my workshop, because they denied my proposal, I'm just saying.
You're not reading poems this year?
No, we got rejected this year, so I'm a little sour, but anyway, I'm sorry. Please.
Maybe Lois can send Mr. Spiritigliosi the information. I don't know if you've started getting those emails from them yet.
From Lois?
Yeah, well, from New Jersey School Board Association. Yeah, so maybe Lois can send her, some of the like events coming up there, especially for the one tomorrow, if you're interested. I mean, it's at 10 o'clock, so it's kind of tough if you're working.
Oh, AM and PM, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be at Manchester.
Yeah, so, okay, the other new one, there's another new one, Thursday, September 21st, it's a webinar at 1 o'clock. Sometimes you can squeeze these in at lunchtime. Adapting education, teaching in harmony with individual learning styles. And this is important, it came up, when Jeff was here, the delegate assembly is
Yes.
December 2nd. So, all board members can participate in that. So, I imagine that there's gonna be more information coming up. That'll be sent to, as the date approaches. But, that's one of the criterion for, the certified board member. So if you're interested, that's December 2nd, that assembly. And I'm not sure if you can, participate in that, virtually, but like I said, I think there'll be more information.
No, Lois,
Signed you up for virtual?
yeah, she said either way.
Oh, for the delegate
Yeah.
assembly, oh, that's great.
Because I read
Okay.
about it, it said that in order for you to vote, you had to be there in person or something like that. But now they're allowing it virtually or in person. It's in Mercer County, so.
Because it was-
I would say, right.
Okay, great.
Why? And I'm gonna
They're
do it
mostly
virtually.
night- they're mostly nighttime.
This, I believe this is during the day, and it might even be a Saturday.
It's Saturdays, day Saturdays. But, oh, I mean.
Okay,
You can
just
really
putting it out
only-
there.
You can literally take the same class over in, over.
Not for the.
Well, this
delegate.
is a delegate assembly, so it's like, it happens twice a year, and, board members vote on, different policies and things like that, and,
But we have Val,
bylaws and stuff.
Valdo locally, he's on their board of directors, so you could argue, complain to him if you're not happy. too.
Okay, and that's it, as far as like, new items that have come up.
Just to know, I'm looking at, Lois's email. It said you will be considered, you can be registered for a hybrid meeting as a non-delegate if you do it in person or virtually. Is that what you're looking for? Non-delegate, I guess.
No, whatever I need to get certified, I mean,
Yeah,
let's
well, you
clarify
would be a
that.
non-delegate, so, because the delegates are already chosen.
Chosen.
So
Right,
you would
right.
attend as a non-delegate,
Right.
but any board member can attend as a non-delegate.
It's just to have the.
right, that's all I wanted to, besides learning, that's all I learned. But
And it's actually surprisingly kind of a fast meeting. It doesn't really, they just kind of vote on things and it
Right.
goes, yeah. Okay, great. Okay, so let's go back now. So personnel and management, Mr. Martinez.
So let's move. 10.1 to 10.14.
second,
And moved by Mr. Martinez, seconded by Mr. Motzko. Roll call, please.
Mr. Abasi,
Yes.
Mr. Martinez,
Yes.
Mr. Maxwell,
yes,
Mrs. Digliosi,
Yes.
Mr. Webb,
Yes.
Mrs. Issa.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, curriculum and technology, Mr. Webb,
I'd like to move 11.1 through 11.3.
second,
moved by Mr. Webb, seconded by Mr. Motzko. Roll call, please.
Mr. Abasi,
Yes.
Mr. Martinez,
Yes.
Mr. Maxwell,
yes,
Mrs. Digliosi, Mr. Webb,
Yes.
and Mrs. Issa.
Yes. Okay, skipping down to safety and security and safety. So, I'll move that since board members aren't here. I'll move 13.1.
Second.
Okay, so I moved and seconded by Mr. Martinez. Roll call, please.
Mr. Abasi,
Yes.
Mr. Martinez,
Yes.
Mr. Maxwell,
yes,
Mrs. Digliosi,
Yes.
Mr. Webb,
Yes.
Mrs. Issa.
Yes. Okay, and then finance and physical plant, and we did get an addendum this morning, so I'm not sure if those are included here.
8.9.
They are.
They are, okay.
Yeah, so
They have asterisks.
what we talked about, and Jeff talked about learning from the board. So in Verona, what I thought we do is, which I think is neat, is there's an addendum. It's still put on the regular agenda, but there's an asterisk saying here's when it was added. It just prevents us having another vote, but it also does document that here's when it was put on. Anything, Lamika brought up a really good point. She says, anything that's financial, I'd want to just have a separate addendum for just to keep everything, straight and normal. I thought that was a really smart suggestion by Lamika. So anything that's, something that's very logical that we could put on with an asterisk, that's what we're going to look to do.
Okay. No, but any financial,
Anything financial,
Yeah,
we'll
okay.
make want their own agenda, and I
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so Mr. Motzko?
Item 15.1 through 15.8, and then the addendum 15.9 through 15.14.
Second.
Thank you.
By Mr. Motzko, seconded by Mr. Martinez. Roll call, please.
Mr. Abbasi?
Yes.
Mr. Martinez?
Yes.
Mr. Moxell?
Yes.
Mrs. Spiridigliosi? Mr. Webb?
Yes.
And Mrs. Zissou.
Yes. Okay, so that's it. That's any new or old business? Anybody?
Say a couple things.
Yep.
One, I just want to say congratulations to Jamie. Good to have you aboard. Second, I know one of the agenda items was the IXL. I personally am not like a huge fan of IXL. I get why it's there. Is there any way maybe we can poll teachers or students on what they think of IXL?
So I'll tell you right now, out of any school in the entire nation, this is true, we had more participation in IXL. That's something we used for our push. We did like a blitz for the state testing. And whenever kids had downtime in their class or they're in deer period or something, there was time for, something to be done. Kids would go on IXL, and our kids, we did like March Madness is like the brackets.
Yes.
We had teachers versus teachers, and the level of participation was, and I know Diana and Amanda are listening, but I believe it's accurate to say that we answered 3.2 million questions correctly. And our scores went up 12%, which is a really good number. So do I know how much of a correlation IXL is to the really scores we're really proud of? I can't tell, but I do know that our kids were into it, and I believe our teachers were as well.
Okay. If it's used, IXL is like the math program.
Mhm.
That I'm familiar with it. As
So
the
we've
math.
added so we have IXL, we've added another supplementary program that's a competitive company, but it's a company that will do word problems in Spanish and other foreign languages for kids as well. Those are the two online programs we're going to use last year.
I would just for like when the kids start getting into like pre-algebra in the later years, it's just as long as they still have to show work, because I think IXL is all multiple choice where you just put stuff in. And
Yeah, for the most part, yeah.
You can just fly through it. So as long as I know right now with my kids in PCTI, they still have to show work and submit it separately, even though it's not part of the official.
Yeah, so IXL, the way we use it, it's never like here's what we're doing today. It's more like we have 15 minutes into the class, we have 10 minutes, or if you finish early in your test, then you can go on IXL. That's kind of our primary way we use it. I would say that yes, our older grades use it, but it's like the wheelhouse of where we use it is probably grades 3 through 6, I would say.
But the fact that
you're right,
scores are going up 12% is probably a good indication that it's not hurting.
I don't believe it's hurting. I don't know how effective it is, but I agree that I can't think it's ineffective.
All right. And then second, just I guess pulling on the thread of the question that Roxanne had asked, is there, do we know what average turnover of staff is around the state, and are we above or below? That's maybe something.
So what I would say is I sent this board an article about the staffing across the state, and we're one of the PCTI is fully staffed. I know that. Heldon Public Schools fully staffed. That might be about it as far as the county. Now there's a lot of factors that go into it. When the COVID money went out and when the state aid formula changed, some schools got a lot better situation than others. And if you hired someone on step one, which is where you really want to hire someone just to keep everything, kosher. But now the fact that if you got $70,000 a year, that would be like step 12 or 13 or 14 or 15 on our salary guide. That's what Camden and Newark and Patterson are starting at right now. So and the rural schools lost a lot of money. The more urban schools gained a lot of money. It's changed the paradigm. So I don't blame any deified teacher for saying I could move up a couple steps on a salary guide if I move now. We still want to make Haledon Public as attractive as possible, and that's why we said you could bring your kids here and have them learn here if you're a staff member. But at the same time, like there's, you know, it's a kind of thing where there's money talks to a certain extent. So I think certain people are like that. Whenever someone moves away to Western New Jersey or Southern Jersey, like no one wants to commute. And we had a lot of those situations. We also had situations where we told people, listen, you've been a good soldier, you've been a really, you've had a good attitude. We aren't going to rehire you, but we know you have a good attitude. So if you resign, then we don't have to have a mark on your record that you weren't rehired. So that's some of the record. Not that happened here in any of the things in this venue, but there's a lot. But we're still fully staffed, which to me is the rarity right now. And each year we go to these teacher recruitment fairs, and there's less people there. That's
So
just
just
how it
to
is.
clarify, we've been fully staffed
Yeah,
pretty much the last couple of years.
that's
For the
to
most
me.
part.
To me, the biggest part of my job is fully staffing our building with as many good teachers as possible. Because the evidence shows the most important thing for a kid's learning is going to be a good teacher. Then second is going to be a good principal, but the teacher's still number one, right? And we love our subs and we love our replacement teachers, but we're not going to get the same value out of them as we're going to get out of the traditional classroom teacher. We're lucky we have a lot of veterans that are excellent and willing to make the place as comfortable as they can for people. But as far as like, if you look at the last couple of years, that introduction video, this was the least amount of slides I've had in a while. But it was still a lot. So this is just where we're at right now. Thank you.
Say despite all of the turnover, it's quite commendable
Mhm.
that you and your team have been able to keep us fully staffed, considering the competitive rates around us. So,
Are you guys having that problem in Belleville too?
one good thing about us is that we've been able to hire a lot of new teachers because we added another building to our middle school. So,
Oh, so all right.
yeah, so we've been able to hire a lot more teachers.
I have a question.
Mhm.
Have we been impacted at all by the financial structure of these hirings? Because I know last year when we spoke about it,
So
there were
we've
bids and
the last 5 years, we've gotten really good state aid totals. The last 3 or 4 or 5 years, we've earned about $1 million from state aid the previous year. Now, for a long time, the position of this board and a lot of other boards locally was that this funding system is not fair. We're not getting what we should get. And people like Jeff and people like a lot of people like him complained, and they got the funding formula changed. And the last 5 years have been really, really cush, right? But can I guarantee that's going to keep being like this? No. So,
I mean, I guess we were fortunate with, let me rephrase my words, when COVID happened.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, we weren't expecting that, but we were also fortunate to get some aid
Yeah.
funding, which has helped us obviously with our new upgrades and stuff like that with the building, et cetera. But at the same time, my reframing back to my question was that I know last year we spoke about certain teachers being offered, I don't know, an extra dime or whatever it was, and how we were going to be competitive with that in order to get.
So,
although
yeah.
it doesn't make a difference because we're already fully staffed.
What we did, what I think we did a good job is, of all the COVID money that came in, and I think Amanda and Diane will totally agree with the statement. We did everything we can to keep our teachers getting the first opportunity to teach summer school if they wanted, to teach after school enrichment program, to teach, the weekend things that we put together.
And these are extra stipends, right?
These are extra, wherever the contractual rate, $51 an hour right now. I think a lot of districts said, we have to spend this money. Let's bring in some specialists from somewhere and have a 1-day workshop or we've done very, very, very little of that. I thought it was important that they, at least at the first, because some teachers are going to tell me, I work at 3, then I got to pick up my kids at home. I'm never going to be part of this. Totally fine. Other teachers, are looking to save up money to put a down payment on a house or a car or whatever. And I think they appreciate that opportunity. So I think we did a good job with that. Now, what are we gonna do once the COVID money is all gone next year, right? If the state aid totals keep getting good, then a lot of these cool programs that we've built, we can keep. If it runs stagnant, then we're gonna have to sit down and say, well, the participation and the reaction from the community on these things we really like, let's keep that. If it goes down, then more difficult decisions should be made. But ideally, we would love to keep them all, but we will know probably in Mayish what our state aid totals are, right? Because we're March, all right.
Right.
Because this particular district, something like 40% of our operating budget comes directly from state aid. So it's such a huge driver of what we can and can't do. And the weird part is we have to wait till every March to find out what the heck it's gonna be, even though it's such a big percentage of our operation.
Now, you said March, right?
Ish, yeah.
So what, as a board or as a school, what can we do now to kind of get ahead of that, be proactive, so that if the opportunity comes again where we get funding, we're in first in line for it?
So 90, like, let's correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, but I would say 98% of our funding is funding that we're told to take. You know, Title I funding, Title II, Title III, Title IV, Title IX, wherever other funding we're
Like,
gonna
you
get.
need it, take it.
Yeah,
it's yours.
state aid, that's
Yeah.
gonna be the most of our funding. There are some supplemental funds, like Victor was really passionate about the electric bus fund, and then we got kind of, hoodwinked at the end. But there are some supplemental funds we can find. What's helpful is that, not that COVID was a good thing, but it's cheaper to run a building when you're not open all the time, when you're not running sports, this and that. So we maximize the amount, like the maximum amount you could put into your coffer, that you're saving. We did that. So that's gonna help offset the cost of, the construction projects or any of the projects we have.
So, Mr. Walker.
Yeah.
sorry to cut you
No,
off, but
no
because
worries.
we had COVID, and I understood you said COVID is not a bad thing.
It is
I
better
mean, it was a bad thing, but for us in Heldon, it wasn't.
for every,
Because we
every school district.
We stayed open though.
For every school district in
Speaking in general.
New Jersey, financially,
We stayed
it
open.
was something that was a favorable outcome despite the overwhelming negative consequences in every other operation.
Right, yeah, I'm not.
Yeah.
How we were able to stay open, we were able to still provide the services. We were still able to acknowledge food
Yeah.
for,
Lunches.
even when the school wasn't available, if it was up to them to pick it up, but we've done our job as far as
Listen,
pushing through.
the Hamilton Public Schools never been in a better financial state than it is right now.
Can you close the meeting up? Five to do everything.
We're in the best shape we've ever been.
Yeah, we can close with, yes, let me go, we can close. Meetings now,
Yeah,
Mr.
it's fine.
Rossi?
It's fine.
Okay, okay, no worries. Okay, no worries.
Thank you.
Wanted to.
Yeah, if state aid keeps being good, then we're gonna keep being great. And if state aid remains, if it levels out, we'll still be good for a really long time. And if state aid goes the other direction, then important decisions are gonna have to be made.
On another topic, since we had the bids and everything, are we still looking to get, is it 6 additional rooms?
So I believe it's 6 rooms, 1 storage, 1 multi-purpose room, 1 elevator, 1 staircase, and maybe a closet or 2. Now is it gonna help out all the teachers that are on carts? No. But is it gonna do a whole lot to help out? Absolutely. Like, we can't wait to get it.
Okay. And is this going to provide us in a position to get preschool expansion, or is it just to relieve?
This is your board. So it's basically, if this board tells me we don't want to see a wait list anymore in preschool, then you tell me that, and then we use 2 rooms and then there's no more wait list, right? If this board decides that, I'll make a recommendation, and it's very likely that my recommendation is gonna be, let's try and find a way to make preschool wait list something we don't have to really worry about anymore. But the board, you guys are gonna have input too, and I'll tell you all our problems, and ultimately you're gonna have to approve the plans.
And we'll have an option, right? Because I mean, it's not like one or the other. We could do a couple of preschool rooms and, alleviate some of the crowding in the other areas.
These rooms are all gonna have bathrooms, so to me, that screams pre-K, K, first grade, right? Like that screams, but you that, right? But it's just gonna be, which opens up other rooms, so there's gonna be it's gonna be a net positive big time.
I'd like to ask a question that it might not do with what we're talking about, but in the future. The town of Helden or the borough of Helden is looking to approve or have a multi-apartment
26
building
units.
That's what they were talking about this.
where it's about anywhere between 26 to maybe 40 apartments. You don't know exactly. But with that comes children.
Right.
Where obviously we're taking the necessary steps to add space because we need it. But on top of that, are we looking to have a conversation how that might alter our plans or maybe alter it in a better way where we can maybe expand bigger?
So there's no more room to expand. Like this is gonna be the last hurrah. Now, to be totally candid, I don't know how many bedrooms each of these 26 units comes attached to. Normally, if you see a 2 or 3 bedroom unit, you could expect children. If you see a 1 bedroom unit, it's less likely you're gonna see children. I don't know, I've never seen the plans or, I'm just not knowledgeable of the comment.
Well, it was canceled, the meeting was just postponed for towards the end of the month, I believe, right? The next planning board meeting.
But anecdotally, I can tell you that they're not gonna put in more units than there's parking. They can't do it. They can't. So, I don't think we need to be concerned that there's gonna be all these high rises going up all over Haledon.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really not concerned about that because where we're supposed to acknowledge who actually lives in town, who is actually coming to school in town, and if there are other people that are not in town coming to the school, then we can reallocate them to make room for
Yeah,
the people that are actually living here.
Again, everybody, it takes, between 3 or 4 months sometimes from when you first suspect someone might not be living until you finally, they're not here anymore. It's just, and that's the frustrating part, I think, for their parents and staff, that it does take a little bit of time. But, no matter what the town does, we're gonna figure it out on our end. But I just don't know enough to speak about it.
Okay, all right, let's move on, folks. Can I have a motion to open up the floor to citizens?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Martinez, seconded by Mr. Mosco. Roll call, please.
Mr. Martinez?
Yes.
Mr. Moxo?
Yes.
Mrs. Farah Digliozzi?
Yes.
Mr. Webb?
Yes.
And Mrs. Ephraim Getting.
Yes. Okay, so the floor is open. Anybody like to comment? Anybody who's here? Okay, we'll start with Ms. Cerna. She is here. I'm sorry, could you please speak up a little bit? No.
I want to suggest to hire a translator. We have a lot of people that don't speak English, and I feel that parents are, they feel like they're not being advocated when there is Ms. Costello or the 2 secretaries that are in the office there. It's not only Hispanic, it's Indian, Arabic. There's a bunch of different ethnicities in this school. So I'm suggesting that we hire some type of translator that is dedicated to advocating for the parents. Because like I said, a parent came up to me today actually and was very upset about her son being treated one way, and then her daughter is now a first grader and she feels like she doesn't have a say. As well as I wanted to see if we can put together some type of tutoring, meaning Manchester kids can come here and tutor the younger ones. Obviously it would be a free program and it would be a volunteer situation, but I think that would benefit the little ones, especially if they can't all get pulled out for extra help in school. I also want to see what we're doing about, I see a lot of new children here, and I want to see if you guys were keeping on top of the new kids and having somebody like maybe scout like Bird King Patterson Way of people that are coming in that don't belong in this town and don't belong in this. As well as like West Broadway and I think it was two, and that way we can see who's actually coming in from out of town and needs your kids into town. Good morning drop off I addressed with Walker already. I feel like it's a little hectic in the morning. It's not because of the children, it's because of the parents being a little bit too much. I know it's the beginning of the year, but they can give a kiss and put them in. And is the school, like going back to Mr. Martinez, what he just brought up, is the school prepared to take on an entire unit of children? If we can't expand anymore, or we can't break up this school into K through 5 and 5 through 8, like a middle school, then how are we supposed to, if they approve this unit, how are we going to deal with this? It's gonna be a major problem.
Thank you, Ms. Serna.
Can I?
No, let's
just
let
ask a
everybody, let everybody give comments. We'll close the floor and then we can, is there anybody else, Mr. Miller?
Yes,
Mr. Pagan?
yes, Jessica Lopez.
Okay. Okay, go ahead, Ms. Lopez. Please state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Jessica Lopez and I live in 119 Lee Avenue. And I would like to know what happens with those kids that doesn't live in Heldon and attend Heldon Public School. Is that permitted? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez. Anybody else?
Let's see, events or chat.
Motion to move.
Okay. Motion to close the floor.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Martinez, seconded by Mr. Motzko. Roll call, please.
Mr. Martinez?
Yes.
Mr. Moxell?
Yes.
Mrs. Spiridigliosi? Mr. Webb?
Yes.
And Mrs. Zissou.
Yes. Okay. Mr. Martinez, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to ask, is our school fully staffed with children?
No staff children.
No. Enrollment, are we at full capacity?
We're sitting at something like, and I might be, give me a standard deviation of 10 or 15 each way. I think we're at about 980 right now. The highest we've ever had when I was here, I remember seeing 1065. But like, let me answer that question better October 4th, because the beginning of the year, the fluctuation is kind of, is a little more dynamic. But we're probably a little less than we were last year. But that's because of a small kindergarten class and a fairly large 8th grade class that just left us.
Reason why I ask is because obviously, Lopez requested, asked about how many students not from Patterson are here, but to just to understand, if we don't have a full enrollment of students, then we're actually hurting in a way.
Well, the big part of it too is, you have the students, and a lot of times, my opinion, 99% of them register legally, like they live here when they register. Sometimes, mom and dad get divorced and that makes it where someone's coming from another area. Other times they move away and they don't want to tell us. We figure it out eventually, but it's a 2 or 3 months process a lot of times. It's right now we have about 5 or 6 things in the queue of our real time of things for Nick, our truancy officer, to go investigate. But just because someone's not there one day doesn't mean they don't live there, because sometimes grandma has the kids up there. It's the kind of thing where we have to show, like, hey, when I make that phone call, I say, Mrs. X, here are all the dates we were there. You weren't there any of these times. Like we know what's going on. Let's figure out a way to. And then a lot of times I'm not trying to damage the child either. So a lot of times I'll wait till the next holiday. I say, listen, you can stay here till Thanksgiving, but by then you got to be out, or you can stay here to Christmas. So people don't see that immediate reaction, but my duties to the kids when they're on rolls are ours, right? So I want to give them time to make that transition.
But as far as enrollment, we're not like under enrolled or not over enrolled.
So when Mrs. S was at this school, there was 600 kids in this building.
Gotcha.
And that was, now there's
It's
over 1,000, but back then, there weren't as many dormer apartments in town, right? So, it's, it is what it is.
Yeah, just asking, because if we are short, meaning students, then we want students, right?
Right
If
now,
if we're over students, we need to be like, hey, we're back. Yeah.
The fact that we're at almost 1,000, I'm saying, comfortable shows how crazy, like, I'm so used to having a lot of kids here. But it feels a little more breathable than it does when we have 1,060.
Yeah, thank you.
So I did want to comment on Ms. Serna's suggestions. I think they're really good. The translator suggestion. Actually, I believe that there is a parent rep. Wasn't there discussion about a parent rep that, and I think it's going to be, I don't know, remember if it's somebody who's on staff who's kind of designated as a parent rep, or if it was going to be a new position. Am I making that up? I know I remember that.
I'm not be confused. I think there's two ways to go about this. You hire one parent, right? And that parent happens to speak Spanish. That's good news for all the Spanish speaking parents. But we don't just have parents that speak Spanish, right? And if we look to accommodate every religion, now we're doing a whole lot of staffing and a whole lot of paying people's benefits for this. I asked just today at our cabinet, I asked Bill, when he goes to Texpo, I'm very interested to see, and also research myself, is it possible to do this through technology? Like, could our district purchase certain high quality apps where I could speak in one language and it could spit back the translation in another language?
Right, well, I mean, actually, like in the court system, that's what they do now. They actually have a number they dial, and the translator will be able, if you need an Indian translator or Spanish translator, Arabic or whatever, they'll provide that for you. And then they'll be on the phone on a speaker, and then, ask a question.
All these things are on the table, right?
Right.
And, or am I gonna have an answer for you by Christmas month, right? It's kind of thing that we really gonna research it and figure out, what's the extent of this problem and how do we want to go about solving it?
I think it's two things, right? So if we just need straight translation, I think there's software that can do that technology, but I think the issue of like advocating for parents too, which is beyond just translating. But I'm gonna go look back through my notes because I remember there was and it may be that one of the staff members has like a designation as a parent rep, maybe one of the counselors.
Money to have like a parent advocate.
What does that mean, a parent who would-
I'm not sure, or like someone that's hired to be a parent advocate. I'm not sure we get enough staff, enough Title I money to justify that, to be honest. Where, if you're Patterson or Clifton, you do. I don't think we're in the category to do that, but when my wife and my son and I, we went to Dominican Republic a couple weeks ago, and from the ride from the airport to the hotel, we don't speak any Spanish. The driver didn't speak any English, and I learned all about Dominican Republic and the fields we were going by, which baseball players lived in what area, through technology. And it was effective enough where I could recite what I learned, right? So like the speaker A and speaker B, they communicated back and forth really well through technology. Now I'd like to use our funds to get it so that we get the best version. I don't want the free version. I want the version that's going to work every single time. But I think that this is something where, this was an agenda item at today's cabinet meeting, which means that if it's on my cabinet agenda, that means it's on our radar. And, by Christmas time, I'm hopeful that we have a solution that we're comfortable with.
And the good news is that we have plenty of staff who are bilingual, not just Spanish, but our guidance counselor for the primary grades. I'm not sure about for the older grades, but Ms. Costello is bilingual. She speaks Spanish, so.
It's much more difficult to get Arabic when we need it. We still have some staff, we're thank goodness, but then there's other language too. Like this is what it is.
Yeah. And the other thing about the tutoring, so like logistically, and I think it's a great idea to have the high school kids come down here. Theoretically, that would be so nice. Logistically, it might be challenging, but there is the Sources of Strength program, that's a program that Mrs. Rome runs. She's the guidance counselor for the 3rd through 5th grade. And I believe that they have, it's not necessarily like a set schedule for tutoring, but they have the older kids kind of mentor and like, kind of take under their wings the younger kids, and they have different projects. So that's something kind of along those lines of like having older kids. And it's great for the older kids because they feel like they're helping and they feel independent, and it really fosters their confidence. And it's great for the little ones because then they know somebody in the older grades, and they make a new friend. And so that the whole idea of that is, it's a great idea. And that Sources of Strength club is really good. I would recommend that to any of the kids who are in the appropriate age level.
Question?
Yeah.
Madam President? No, so with the tutoring, that would be done what, after school?
Well, the thing you gotta understand too is we can't control the Manchester students, number one.
Right.
And number two, if Manchester offers us something, then they're gonna have to offer it to the 2 other districts that go.
Right.
Right? So it's something where right now we're using our ESSER funds to do enrichment program, which we've done the last 3 years. So every kid that wants it's free, they can do it, and plus the BOSS program for the summertime.
Right.
So it's the kind of thing where, if Manchester ever put something together and wanted to talk to us about that, we'd have the conversation, but there's no use speculating on things we can't control right now. We're just gonna do it in-house on our own.
Again, I think that Sources of Strength program is great. And actually, I think Mrs. Rome is on the call tonight.
Hey, Ms. Rome.
But it's a great program. Okay, anybody else? Alrighty, then can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. By Mr. Mosco, seconded by Mr. Martinez. Roll call, please.
Mr. Martinez?
Yes.
Mr. Marco?
Yes.
Mrs. Bigliosi?
Yes.
Mr. Webb?
Yes.
Mrs. Issa.
Yes. Okay. See you in October, everyone.